Hey Hogs, the next lineman technique I'm going to talk about is base block. So when we use the base block, that means that part of our rule for that play is that if there's no one in our gap, then we block. The next part of our progression is that we check to see if there's a guy covering our body. So if there's no one covering our gap, we check to see if there's someone covering our body, either directly on top of us or a little bit shaded to the play side. When we have a base block, it's typically we are double teaming with the guy play side of us. So we will have a double team call, and he is doing the drive block, and he's trying to drive this guy, this head up guy, over into my gap. We're trying to turn this into a down block for me as the base guy. But in order to do so, I need to do a good job at lifting this guy up. And then when I feel the guy I'm double teaming with, when I feel him punch this guy, I need to now throw this guy over into my gap and then to seal him off from the play. So the ball, let's say if the ball is going to the right, I'm double teaming to the lineman to my right, and he is trying to push this guy over into my gap away from the play. So this is pretty much what I've talked about. When you do a base block, the biggest thing is that you need to take two steps. You always step with your gap foot first, then your second step. It's just two steps in place. It's kind of a timing step in order for that guy to close the distance and to make sure that you are in a good spot to get underneath him and lift him out of his shoes. So it's easy for the guy double teaming, the guy doing the drive block to punch him into your gap. And the next thing, you got to make sure you get your hands inside so it's easy to throw the guy over into your gap to declare him away from where the play is going. I'm just going to show one example of this because I think this is a great example. We're going to watch the center right here execute a beautiful base block here. So he takes two steps. If you watch, he just goes 1, 2, just two steps in place. It's kind of a timing thing in order for this guy to close the distance. And then notice he is underneath this guy. He could be a little bit lower, but he's underneath this guy. He has his hands inside right here. So now he is able to throw that guy over into his gap. And if you see how much movement this double team gets because this drive block is right on the hip, that they are able to throw this guy over into their gap away from the play. And as you can see, it creates a gigantic hole for the ball to be ran through. And that's exactly what we're trying to get out of this double team. So for a base block, you're really just trying to have a good base underneath you. You're trying to dip and lunge and get underneath this guy to lift him up. So it is easier for you to get help from your double team buddy to get that guy over into your gap. That's what we're trying to do. That is the essentials of a base block.